There is a question most people never ask themselves, not because it's difficult, but because they're afraid of what the answer might be. When you were younger, you probably imagined a very different future. Not necessarily a richer one, not necessarily a more famous one, just different. You imagined the kind of work that would make you feel alive, the projects you wanted to build, the skills you wanted to master, the person you hoped you would become. Then life happened. School, careers, bills, promotions, relationships, responsibilities. None of those things are wrong. In fact, many of them were exactly the right decisions. But somewhere along the way, did you stop choosing your life and start simply continuing it? When was the last time you stopped long enough to ask, if no one expected anything from me, would I still choose the life I'm living today? That's not a question about success. It's a question about authorship. Because there is a profound difference between living a successful life and living the life you intentionally chose. Most people don't wake up one morning and decide to abandon themselves. It happens much more quietly than that. One responsible decision at a time. You choose the practical degree. You accept the stable job. You work hard. You earn promotions. You become dependable. People begin to trust you. Your family is proud of you. Your friends admire what you've built. And from the outside, your life looks exactly the way success is supposed to look. And maybe it is. But success and authenticity are not always the same thing. Somewhere beneath the responsibilities, beneath the routines, beneath the expectations, there is another question waiting patiently. And that is, what did I want before the world started telling me who I should become? Not because the world intended to mislead you. Most expectations come from people who genuinely care. Parents want security for their children. Teachers encourage reliable careers. Employers reward consistency. Society celebrates achievement. And none of that is wrong. But if you never pause to ask yourself whether those expectations still belong to you, you may spend years succeeding at a life that was never fully your own. And the most surprising part is this: you can be grateful for the life you built, while still wondering if there is another part of yourself that has been waiting quietly to be heard. By this point, you may have already possessed every skill you need. Think about that for a moment. Every day you solve problems that other people cannot. You make decisions based on years of experience. You create value. You improve systems. You build solutions. People trust your judgment because you've spent years becoming good at what you do. That experience is real. That expertise is valuable. But here's the question that very few people ever stop to ask. How much of your best work actually belongs to you? How many hours have you invested building someone else's vision, while quietly telling yourself that one day you will finally have the time to build your own? Not because your employer has done anything wrong, not because your career has been a mistake, but because somewhere along the way you begin believing that your greatest work could only happen between the hours of 9 and 5. You've learned how to build for a paycheck, but perhaps you forgot how to build for yourself. There's a difference. One provides a living, the other builds a legacy. Sometimes the turning point doesn't arrive with a crisis. Sometimes it begins with something almost forgotten. An old notebook, a folder on a hard drive, a sketch you haven't looked at in years, a collection of ideas from a younger version of yourself who believed those ideas would someday become real. You look at them again, and for a moment, time seems to disappear. You don't see old drawings. You see old possibilities. Ideas that never failed. Projects that were never rejected. Dreams that were never impossible. They were simply postponed. Year after year. Until postponement quietly became a habit. And then one question rises to the surface. Not, do I still have the ability? Because deep down you already know the answer. The real question is this: what if the life you have been waiting to build could begin without walking away from the life you've already built? Sometimes the biggest change isn't choosing between your career and your dream. Sometimes it's realizing that they were never meant to compete in the first place. One of the biggest misconceptions people carry is believing that they only have two choices. Either continue building the career they've already worked so hard to establish, or walk away and finally pursue the things they've always wanted to create. But life is rarely that absolute. Your profession and your personal calling don't have to compete with each other. In many cases, the very skills you spent years developing for someone else may be the same skills that allow you to build something for yourself. You see, the engineer already knows how to design. The teacher already knows how to explain. The accountant already knows how to organize. The craftsman already knows how to build. The manager already knows how to solve problems. So you see, you may not need new abilities. You may simply need to give your existing abilities a second purpose. Not instead of your career, alongside it. Because fulfillment isn't always found by changing jobs. Sometimes it's found by changing ownership, by allowing part of your experience to finally carry your own name. So, if that is true, then the next question becomes surprisingly simple. Where do you begin? Not with a business plan, not with quitting your job, not with risking everything you spent years building. You begin with one appointment, and that appointment is with yourself. Set aside one evening this week, one uninterrupted hour. During that hour, work on something that belongs entirely to you. Write, design, build, sketch, repair, create. It doesn't have to earn money. It doesn't have to impress anyone. It simply has to exist because you chose to create it. Then do the same thing the following week. Protect that hour the same way you would protect an important meeting. Because every meaningful project begins the same way. Not with a dramatic leap, but with a date on a calendar that you refuse to break. And over time, those hours stop feeling like something you're trying to fit into your life. They become part of the life that you are choosing to build. Something interesting begins to happen when you consistently make time for work that belongs to you. The work itself starts to change you, not because every project is successful, not because every idea becomes profitable, but because every hour you invest reminds you that you are capable of creating something the world didn't have before. You stop measuring your life by only promotions, or performance reviews, or job titles. Those things still matter, but they are no longer the only evidence that you're growing. Every design you complete, every chapter you write, every piece of furniture you build, every lesson that you teach, every photograph you take, every business you slowly develop become part of a legacy that carries your own name. And something else begins to change. The confidence you once searched for quietly starts to reappear. Not because someone gave it to you, but because you accumulated evidence that you can build, create, and finish meaningful work. Confidence isn't usually found. It's built, one completed project at a time. This week, I want you to do something that may seem almost too simple. Choose one skill that you already use in your career and ask yourself a different question. How could I use this same skill to build something that belongs to me? If you're an engineer, design something. If you're an accountant, create a financial guide that helps families. If you are a teacher, develop a course or resource that reflects your own experience. If you're a manager, build a system that solves a problem others struggle with. Don't worry about building a business today. Don't worry about making money tomorrow. Just begin creating something that reflects who you are. Then protect 1 hour this week to continue. Put it on your calendar. Honor it the way you would any important appointment. Because your future isn't changed by one extraordinary weekend. It is changed by ordinary hours that you faithfully protect to yourself. Most people believe that fulfillment requires starting over. It rarely does. More often, it begins when you stop treating your career and your calling as competitors. The life you built doesn't have to be abandoned. It may simply need to become more complete. Because one day, someone may ask you, what did you create with the years that you've been given? I hope your answer includes more than what someone else paid you to build. I hope it includes what you choose to create because it reflects who you are. So, if you want to stay relevant in a world where access to knowledge, tools, and opportunity has never been greater, then just don't consume what is possible. Build something that reflects the person you're becoming. And if this episode encouraged you to reclaim a part of yourself that you've set aside, subscribe. This is D.B. Lewis, and I will see you in the next one.